Tristan and I recently celebrated our second anniversary, but our journey together feels much longer than that, almost 4 years in total. It all began when I decided to give Bumble a try, urged on by friends during a particularly lengthy stint of singledom. Little did I know that swiping right would lead me to Tristan. Our relationship hit a rocky patch early on when I discovered some inappropriate conversations he'd been having with his exes. It caused quite a stir between us, with tensions running high and the threat of a breakup looming. Yet, Tristan promised to make things right, and to his credit, he did. Since then, our relationship has been on a much smoother trajectory. I've had the pleasure of meeting Tristan's mother, Hillary, whom I found to be delightful. Unfortunately, the feeling wasn't entirely mutual. Hillary, a widow for several years now, has always shared a close bond with Tristan. He's what some might call a mama's boy, often seeking her counsel and guidance. Initially, this dynamic caused a bit of unease for me, but over time, I've come to accept it as part of who he is. My own upbringing was quite different. Raised in an upper-middle-class family with parents who owned multiple businesses, my brother and I were afforded many opportunities. While our parents provided financial support, they also emphasized the importance of forging our own paths in life. I found success as a real estate agent, while my brother pursued a career in software engineering. He's now happily married to his wife, Kim, and together they have two beautiful daughters whom I adore spending time with. Tristan's background, however, was marked by hardship. He spent years working in customer support, a job he loathed with a passion. It's a tough field, filled with demanding customers and long hours, often leaving him feeling frustrated and drained by the end of his shifts. He had shared with me his aspirations of becoming a renowned YouTuber, dreaming of traversing the globe and chronicling his adventures for an audience. However, the weight of his college debt loomed large, hindering his pursuit of this passion. As our relationship deepened, I opened up about my family's wealth, which initially met with skepticism until he delved into a Google search and discovered the truth. While he appeared to accept my background, occasional murmurs surfaced about my supposedly effortless journey, a sentiment that cut deep. Despite the advantages my family provided, I was no stranger to hard work, diligently forging my own path and maintaining a stable job without relying on parental support. When he moved in with me prior to marriage, he balked at the idea of contributing to rent or splitting utility bills, arguing that my financial status rendered such contributions unnecessary. Despite my reservations, I relented under pressure, bearing the financial burden alone as our household expenses ballooned with our union. Even after we tied the knot, the financial responsibility continued to rest solely on my shoulders. He adamantly refused to invest in our shared expenses, insisting that I foot the bill for everything from our outings to our vacations. Meanwhile, he spared no expense when it came to indulging himself or showering his mother with lavish gifts, leaving me feeling overlooked and unappreciated. On occasions like my birthday, his token gifts, a mere Target coupon, served as a stark reminder of his indifference, compounded by his assertion that my wealth made me undeserving of anything more. His actions left me feeling disheartened and undervalued, highlighting the glaring disparities in our relationship. I never really cared much for extravagant gifts, but Tristan's lack of interest in celebrating special occasions with me still managed to disappoint. Over time, I gradually stopped expecting anything thoughtful from him, resigning myself to the reality of our relationship. However, the pivotal moment arrived during our first anniversary celebration. Eager to make it memorable, I pulled out all the stops, organizing an intimate gathering of our closest family and friends for a lavish dinner. I went the extra mile, waking him up with breakfast in bed and treating him to a relaxing day at the spa. The day seemed to be unfolding perfectly, filled with love and laughter, until an unexpected overheard conversation shattered my illusion of marital bliss. As I approached the room where Tristan and my mother-in-law were conversing, their laughter abruptly ceased, replaced by hushed tones that caught my attention. Straining to hear, I was horrified to overhear Tristan's disparaging remarks about me. He spoke of me in a derogatory manner, criticizing my appearance and expressing disdain for our marriage. What struck me the hardest was his callous admission of marrying me solely for financial gain. His nonchalant discussion about divorcing me to claim a portion of my wealth cut me to the core. And to my disbelief, His own mother seemed to find humor in his cruel words, casually joking about the perks of living off my family's fortune. The realization that I was merely a means to an end in Tristan's eyes left me reeling with a mix of shock and betrayal. It was a devastating blow to my self-esteem, as I grappled with the harsh truth that the man I loved saw me as nothing more than a financial asset. The thought of confronting him filled me with dread, fearing that it would only confirm his shallow intentions and lead to the demise of our relationship. Yet, despite the turmoil raging within me, I couldn't bring myself to confront him. The fear of facing the harsh reality of our marriage was too overwhelming, and I found myself sinking deeper into despair with each passing day. The emotional toll it took on me was immense, leaving me unable to reciprocate any form of physical intimacy with him, knowing that our bond was built on deceit and ulterior motives. I distanced myself from Tristan gradually, finding excuses to avoid spending time with him as I processed the shocking revelation. He couldn't help but notice the shift in my behavior and question me about it. Unable to confront him about what I had overheard, I feigned work-related stress as the reason for my withdrawal. Day by day, I retreated further into my own thoughts, grappling with the realization that my marriage was unraveling right before my eyes. However, amidst the turmoil, my brother David sensed my distress and decided to pay me a visit. His presence brought me a measure of solace, providing a much-needed respite from the inner turmoil I was experiencing. One afternoon, while David and I were engrossed in conversation on the balcony, we inadvertently overheard snippets of Tristan and his mother's discussion. They were lounging by the pool, unaware that their voices carried up to where we were seated. Though the details are somewhat hazy in my memory, I'll endeavor to recount their conversation to the best of my ability. Tristan's frustration was palpable as he lamented the lack of affection in our marriage and expressed his eagerness to divorce me in order to claim a share of my wealth. His callous words struck me to the core, and I felt a rush of embarrassment wash over me as David exchanged a concerned glance with me. Tristan went on to reveal his calculated plans to prolong our marriage for financial gain, intending to seek additional alimony before ultimately ending our relationship. He even suggested involving his mother in the process, asking if she wanted to witness the moment he broke the news to me. The sheer audacity of his words left me reeling, overwhelmed by a mix of betrayal and disbelief. Hillary's laughter cut through the air like a knife, echoing in the room as I sat there stunned. Feeling a surge of emotions, I excused myself and hurried to my room, seeking refuge from the turmoil brewing inside me. Alone in the dimly lit space, I let the floodgates of my anguish open, tears streaming down my cheeks as I grappled with the weight of betrayal and confusion. David, sensing my distress, followed me, his concern palpable. He enveloped me in a comforting embrace, his words a soothing balm to my wounded soul. Anger boiled within him, his protective instincts urging him to confront Tristan then and there to demand answers for the pain he had caused. But I, lost in the whirlwind of my emotions, begged him to wait, fearing the repercussions of such a confrontation. In the days that followed, I found solace in confiding in my brother more. Pouring out the details of my crumbling marriage, I unburdened myself of the heavy secrets I had carried alone for so long. I recounted how Tristan's charming facade had masked a darker truth, how his demands and expectations had slowly chipped away at my self-worth. As Moore listened, his expression a mix of shock and indignation, I painted a vivid picture of Tristan's manipulative tactics. How he had coerced me into shouldering the financial burden of our household, using my wealth as a shield to deflect any responsibility from himself. How he had dismissed my desires and needs, prioritizing his own whims and desires above all else. David, ever the pragmatist, urged me to seek legal counsel, wary of Tristan's intentions regarding my assets. Reluctantly, I agreed, and with David's guidance, I found myself sitting across from Sam, a trusted lawyer and friend. As I recounted the harrowing details of my marriage, Sam's brow furrowed in concern. His questions probed deep into the heart of the matter, his experienced gaze seeing through the facade of lies and deceit. When the topic of a prenuptial agreement arose, I felt a pang of regret, realizing too late the importance of such legal protection. Sam's words were a wake-up call, his cautionary tales painting a stark picture of the dangers lurking within my marriage. Continuing to meet my lawyer clandestinely, I kept Tristan in the dark about my actions. Following my lawyer's counsel, I mustered the courage to confide in my parents, laying bare the truth. Their disbelief mirrored my own, as they had held Tristan in high regard. Upon learning of my lawyer's advice regarding my property and finances, my parents, particularly my dad, suggested a decisive course of action. Selling my property and moving into a rented space emerged as the optimal solution, my dad assuring me that the proceeds would be safeguarded for me in due time. Eager to shield my intentions from Tristan's scrutiny, I crafted a narrative about house refurbishments due to termite infestation, proposing a temporary shift to an apartment to avoid disruption. Despite Tristan's initial resistance, he begrudgingly assented, and we relocated to a modest rented apartment. As Tristan grumbled about the cramped quarters, inwardly, I celebrated the success of my covert strategy. Leveraging my expertise in real estate, I orchestrated the sale of my property, surreptitiously funneling the proceeds to my parents without Tristan's knowledge. His obliviousness to my maneuvers only fueled my determination to execute my plan flawlessly. With the sale completed and a significant hurdle overcome, I set my sights on the next phase. Seizing every opportunity, I subtly voiced dissatisfaction with my job, planting seeds of doubt in Tristan's mind. Concerned about our financial stability, Tristan urged me to persevere, oblivious to my impending resignation. Finally mustering the courage, I tendered my resignation, a bold move that left Tristan seething with rage. Despite his fury, I remained resolute, determined to reclaim control of my life and protect my assets from his grasp. I approached Tristan, ready to broach the subject of splitting the bills now that I was no longer bringing in income. As his face shifted in realization, a small chuckle escaped my lips at the thought of him having to shoulder some of the financial burden. Moving forward with my plan, I made arrangements to transfer all my investments into my brother David's name, confident that I could reclaim them once I finalized my divorce from Tristan. But just as I was preparing to serve Tristan with divorce papers, tragedy struck in the most unexpected way. My parents were involved in a fatal car accident, leaving me and my brother utterly shattered. The news hit us like a wrecking ball, and we spent hours sobbing together, grappling with the incomprehensible loss. In the midst of our grief, Tristan barged into my room, demanding to talk. But instead of offering comfort or solace, his words cut like a knife. With a cold demeanor, he expressed his disdain for emotional displays, urging me to compose myself. His lack of empathy only added to my pain, and I silently wished for him to leave me in peace. Then, he abruptly shifted the conversation, questioning the presence of another person in our house. His accusatory tone caught me off guard, and I struggled to maintain my composure. Fed up with his insensitivity and games, I decided to confront him head-on. I confessed that I had sold our house without his knowledge, asserting my right to make decisions about my own property. His initial shock quickly turned to anger, demanding to know what I had done with the proceeds from the sale. In that moment, I chose to shield myself with a lie, unwilling to expose my vulnerabilities to him. I handed over the proceeds to my parents, who were in need of the money. This seemed to unsettle Tristan, and his agitation escalated rapidly. He demanded to know why I had given the money to my parents, to which I explained that they had purchased the house for me, hence it felt right to return every penny to them. Tristan's reaction was visceral. He unleashed a torrent of abusive words, hurling insults at me and questioning my decision to sell the house without his consent. His words turned even more venomous when he callously suggested that I wouldn't get the money back now that my parents were deceased. Despite my attempts to remain calm, Tristan's aggression pushed me over the edge. I asserted my autonomy, reminding him that he had no authority to dictate my actions, especially considering his dependence on me. I demanded he vacate my parents' house so I could mourn in peace. Enraged by my defiance, Tristan declared his desire for a divorce. In response, I coolly retrieved the divorce papers from my bag and presented them to him, laughing in disbelief. Tristan's demeanor shifted from anger to confusion as he realized the gravity of the situation. I served him the papers and instructed him to leave. Amidst his protests, David, likely awakened by the commotion, burst into the room. Understanding the situation at a glance, I informed my brother of the divorce and urged Tristan to depart. Tristan's insults escalated, disparaging me and threatening to take everything from me. Witnessing my brother's usually composed demeanor dissolve into a rage-filled fury, I feared for Tristan's safety. In a moment of unbridled anger, David landed a powerful blow on Tristan, causing him to stagger and fall, blood streaming from his nose. As Tristan writhed in pain on the floor, I implored my brother to restrain himself, threatening to involve the authorities if Tristan refused to leave. I emphasized the respect my parents commanded in the community. I firmly asserted that they would support their grieving child, knowing Tristan might face immediate arrest. The next day, he left the house in a whimper. At the funeral, surrounded by supportive family members, I confided in them, sharing the shocking truth about Tristan's character. They stood firmly behind my decision to end the marriage, offering unwavering support. However, amidst the solace of my family's embrace, I found myself bombarded with vicious threats and voicemails from Tristan and his mother. Hilary was particularly irate about the divorce papers, furious at being blindsided by my actions. She insisted that a wife should never make such decisions without her husband's consent, urging me to reconsider. Despite my conviction that I wasn't in the wrong, I couldn't shake the doubt creeping in. Was I justified in serving divorce papers on such a tragic day? Or should I have given him a warning? I sought validation, questioning whether others would view me as the antagonist in this situation. In an update, I expressed gratitude to those who had offered support and reassurance. I clarified that my inheritance was protected under state law, easing concerns about Tristan making a grab for it during the divorce. However, he remained oblivious to my transfer of investments to my brother, a revelation I planned to save for the official divorce proceedings. Returning home with David to pack my belongings, Tristan's subdued reaction caught me off guard. He watched in silence as we prepared to leave, his demeanor markedly different from before. He urged me to reconsider the divorce, questioning my motives. In response, I couldn't contain my laughter. Perhaps it was the weight of grief from losing my parents or the bitter irony of the situation, but I found it strangely amusing. Tristan stared at me incredulously, as if I had lost my mind. Without hesitation, I dropped the bombshell, revealing that I had overheard him and his mother discussing marrying me for financial gain on our first anniversary. Tristan attempted to protest, but I silenced him, recounting the unsettling details of their conversation. His horror was palpable as I explained why I had kept this revelation to myself, emphasizing that I had taken measures to ensure he would never benefit financially from me. Walking away from our marriage, I couldn't help but feel a sense of triumph. However, I knew this was just the beginning of a long and grueling battle. The divorce proceedings dragged on for 4 months since my last update, taking a toll on my mental and emotional well-being. As expected, Tristan's lawyer seemed intent on prolonging the process, showing little interest in reaching a settlement. Tristan himself continued to manipulate the situation, fighting tooth and nail to secure his financial interests. It was a painful realization of the person I thought I knew, as if he had made it his mission to make the divorce as difficult as possible. Amidst the legal battles, I found solace in the decision to protect my assets beforehand. The unwavering support of my brother David and his wife Kim was my lifeline during these trying times. Their encouragement reminded me that I deserved better and gave me hope that this storm would eventually pass. Though the constant legal back and forth made it challenging to see the light at the end of the tunnel, their presence provided me with the strength to persevere. As the divorce proceedings drag on, I discover surprising facets of myself. I find moments of clarity, reflecting on my journey from who I once was to the resilient individual I am becoming. It's a realization that I refuse to let my past define me. Hey there, it's been a while since I last updated you on what's been happening. Well, guess what? Tristan and I are officially over. The divorce papers are signed, sealed, and delivered. It's a mix of relief and disbelief. Finally, I can put an end to my marriage and move forward to the next chapter of my life. It feels like crossing the finish line of a marathon, but hey, I made it. For those who were concerned about my inheritance and investments, here's an update. After my parents passed away and the divorce was finalized, everything fell into place as planned. Thanks to the meticulous steps we took earlier, I regained control of my inheritance, including the proceeds from selling my house. My supportive brother David promptly returned all the investments I had entrusted to him. This transition has allowed me to stand on my own 2 feet, free from any financial ties with Tristan. Currently, I have a new job as a part-time bookkeeper. I'm not quite ready to dive back into my old full-time job as a real estate agent. This new job feels like a breath of fresh air, offering a change of pace and new challenges. It's like starting with a clean slate. Outside of work, I've been reconnecting with friends and family, hitting the refresh button on all my relationships. I've even picked up a new hobby. Turns out I have a knack for painting. Though the legal battles are over, the uncertainty of what lies ahead remains. I miss my parents every day, especially now that I live alone. Yet, I find solace in the knowledge that they loved me and my brother deeply during their time with us. One thing is for sure, I'm ready to face whatever comes my way, armed with the lessons I've learned and the strength I've gained through adversity.